Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido o bienvenida a este video. So, as you can tell, I currently have a new setup. That's because I recently moved, and so I don't have my regular whiteboard. But the workaround is this really cool new little iPad setup. I found a cheap iPad online, and now I am filming this video. So, I hope you like it. I apologize for my bad handwriting. Let me know what you think of this new setup. I've also thought about using just a Google Doc and filming myself, but I would love to know what you think. So, let's jump in. Hoy vamos a aprender sobre cómo se dice I have in Spanish. Now, not the physical I have, but I have been, I have done, I have said. So, tener would be the physical have, right? Tengo un lápiz, right? I have a pencil, for example. Whereas haber is I have been, for example, or I have done, okay? So, the way that we formulate this idea of I have been, I have done, I have said is with haber, meaning to have, plus the past participle. So what is the past participle? It's just the past tense of a word. So hecho, ido, dicho, for example. Okay, so these are all different verbs, and they're all in that past participle form. Okay, so for example, with the verb hablar, we would have hablado. So we'll cut off the AR and then we'll add on ado. For an IR verb like vivir, we'll have ido, so vivido. And then for an ER verb, we'll also have ido. So for example, with comer, we would have comido. Now, it's not always the case. We do have some irregulars here, but you can check those out in another video here on this channel. So let's take a look. He visto esta película. I have seen this movie. Remember that esta is not está, right? Esta means this. Está means is, okay? So esta película, feminine singular there, okay? So right, coming from haber, meaning I have, and then visto is the past participle coming from the verb ver. Notice how it's irregular there. So our conjugations in the present tense for haber are as follows. Has, a, and then we have hemos and han. Okay? Has, a, hemos, han. I hope you're liking this new setup so far. I'm still learning, as you can tell, but I hope you're liking it. Okay, so he visto esta película. Now let's check out number 3. Has comprado la leche. Okay? Now, I put question marks here on the ends just so that you can see that we can also turn this into a question. So right now, has comprado la leche is just a statement. You have bought the milk. Okay? It's not you bought the milk or you were buying the milk. No, it's you have bought the milk. Okay? However, if I turn this into a question, now I have has comprado la leche. Now I'm asking you, have you bought the milk? Okay? Notice how it switches, right? You have bought the milk versus have you bought the milk? Okay? And our final example here, ha dormido 10 horas, okay? He has slept or she has slept 10 hours, okay? So ha coming from haber, meaning she has or he has, and dormido as our past participle. Now, remember that in Spanish, here with the a, I don't need to say él ha or ella ha if I already have existing context clues. So if we were talking about Vanessa and then I say ha dormido 10 horas, you will understand that I'm talking about Vanessa, right? And she would be ella, okay? It's very normal that native Spanish speakers will not attach on the subject pronouns. They won't say yo or tú or él. They will just say or has or a, okay? Awesome. Now, when it comes to pronouns, which are these little guys right here, these are what we call pronouns, we will always place them before the first conjugated verb in the sentence, which in this case would be has and okay? If this is confusing, no worries. As long as you can understand how to speak using these, if you don't remember the fancy names, that's totally fine, okay? Pronouns simply shorten our sentences. So I don't want to have to keep saying, for example, the refrigerators. Let's say that los in this sentence is representing the refrigerators. I don't want to have to keep saying los refrigeradores, los refrigeradores. It's really hard to say. It's much easier to just say los. So in this case, I can say los has visto? Have you seen them? Now, when it comes to using object pronouns, you need to have mentioned the object first before you can turn it into a pronoun. So if I just randomly say los has visto and you have no prior context, you're going to be like, what have I seen? I have no idea what you're talking about. But let's say I was talking about refrigerators, which my refrigerator is next to me. Okay, cool. Now I say los has visto, have you seen them? And you understand that I'm talking about the refrigerators. We can also use los to represent people. So I could say, have you seen them? Have you seen my friends? Hey, ¿dónde están mis amigos? ¿Los has visto? Have you seen them? Okay, so los representing them. Oops, I just moved this. Still learning. Okay, so now in number 6, we have the very tricky idea of an indirect object pronoun, which in this case would be se, and then we have our direct object pronoun, which would be las in this case. So remember that in Spanish, you cannot have what we call lilo and stitch. At least that's what I like to call it. So you can't have lelo or leslo or so on and so forth in a sentence. You have to turn le or les into se when it's used with an indirect object pronoun. So, se las he dado. Okay, so a little bit tricky, but here, se las he dado would mean I have given them to them. This could also be him, for example. Se is really tricky because it can represent le and les. Le can represent él, ella, usted, and les can represent ellos, ellas, or ustedes. So now, all of a sudden, this tiny word se is representing le and les. So él, ella, usted, ellos, ellas, ustedes. It's very tricky. That's why in Spanish, you can add on extra context in a sentence like this. So for example, se las he dado, and then we'll just go here like this, a ellos, for example. So I have given them to them. A ellos, letting us know that I'm talking about them. Now, once again, I already need to have prior context in order to say something like se las he dado, but if we've been talking about a bunch of different objects or a bunch of different people, then it might be useful to add on this extra context of a ellos, okay? So, right here is the haber, meaning I have, and dado is our past participle coming from the verb dar, okay? So I have given them to them. Them, right, representing whatever. This could be las pelotas or whatever, and then se representing ellos, okay? I know there's a lot of information. I know it's quite tricky, especially the pronouns. I have a lot more videos about object pronouns inside my Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Now, the last example I want to give to you is this. He ido al mercado. I have been or I have gone to the market. Now in Spain, it is very common that we will say something like he ido al mercado to talk about something that happened today or recently. Whereas in a place like Mexico or throughout the Americas, we would say something like fui al mercado. Okay, so he ido al mercado, I have been to the supermarket, versus I went to the supermarket. Now, in Mexico, for example, we can say he ido al mercado, but it's kind of like how we would speak English in the United States. Oh yeah, I have been to that supermarket. Or yeah, oh, I have been there before. But I wouldn't say to you, oh, today I have been to the market. It sounds a bit formal. It's more likely that I would say something like, oh yeah, today I went to the market. So same idea here in Mexico, okay? He ido al mercado, in the past, I have been to the market before, or I went to the market today. Whereas in Spain, it's common that they will say something like he ido al mercado for something that happened today or it recently happened. Now, in Mexico or in Latin America, we could also say something like acabo de ir al mercado, meaning I just went to the market. Acabo de, representing that you just did something, okay? So, in Latin America, use something like fui or acabo de ir instead of saying he ido, okay? Well, that is how you say I have whatever in Spanish. I hope this has helped. I hope you like this new setup. Please leave me a comment letting me know what you think about this new setup. I hope that you like it. I know that my writing isn't the best, so if you think that maybe like just a simple Google Doc would be easier, that also is totally fine. Maybe I'll experiment with that today, filming another video, and that way I can see which you guys prefer, which style you guys prefer. Muchas gracias. If you want to learn more Spanish with me, check out the link in the video description to join our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Our goal is to help you have a 10-minute conversation in Spanish in 90 days without feeling unconfident. So check it out by clicking the link in the video description, or you can just go to SpanishWithNate.com. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.